What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about unpopular watch opinions. Nathan started a thread over on the JustBlueFish Watch Club Facebook group called Controversial Watch Opinions, and I gotta say it was pretty entertaining with lots of great replies. So today we're going to share some of those unpopular or controversial watch opinions, as well as give some of my own, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts on what the members of the group had to say. But first, let's roll the intro. So I'll kick off this list of 12 unpopular or controversial watch opinions with the original poster's hot take, and that is, divers aren't as versatile as we think. Unless you're James Bond, and you're not, they look kind of naff with a suit. And yeah, I had to look up what naff means. British slang doesn't really make it over here too often. But regardless, is the diver less versatile than we think it is? Well, there was a lot of people in agreement with Nathan's take that posted responses in that thread. But I mostly disagree. Style and fashion, it evolves, and I think that we're in a much more casual phase as a society. I don't think that the watch that you wear has much effect on the way that you look, and I don't think most people notice or even care, so long as it's not like a gigantic watch or a watch with extremely clashing colors. But hey, what do I know? I mostly wear t-shirts and shorts. So here's my controversial or possibly unpopular opinion. The Tudor Black Bay 58 Blue, not an exciting new release. I mean, what, we didn't see this coming? The only surprise to me is that it took so long to come out. I mean, the first Black Bay 58 looks almost exactly like the original full-sized Black Bay. A new blue variant that looks almost exactly like the full-size blue model wasn't exactly a surprise. It was pretty obvious in my opinion. And hey, spoiler alert, a red version of the Black Bay 58 will be coming along sometime in the future as well, I have no doubt. So yeah, it's a cool watch and all, I like it, but there was really nothing exciting or surprising about that release in my opinion. Next on the list from Jake, and he says, the SKX sucks. And whoa there, take it easy, them's fighting words, Jake. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, mostly. Look, the thing is that I love the SKX. In fact, the last video that I made about that watch was entitled The Worst Watch That I Still Love. But the watch is objectively horrible in a lot of ways. For example, the movement is absolutely hot garbage. And every time I say that, I get a handful of comments from people saying things like,
but my 7S26 keeps time within COSC specs.
Or some nonsense like that. Great, you're lucky, or you haven't owned and worn the watch for long enough. Give it a year or two, and it will probably start keeping crappy time, just like all the rest of them. But there is still something really cool about that watch, and despite its shortcomings, I do love mine, and I don't ever plan on getting rid of it. Next on deck, we've got Ben, and he says, GShock watches are just massive, ugly lumps of plastic with teeny little digital screens hidden away in the middle. Look, that one's kind of funny. But yeah, look, as much as I love GShock squares, and I do, it's one of my all-time favorite watches, mostly I agree. The majority of G-Shocks don't appeal to me stylistically, but I will say this about them, they are probably one of the last great tool watches. In a market where most watches are form before function, the G-Shock is a watch made for task and it can take a beating. It's absolutely bulletproof. Whether it's a soldier in the military or a tradesman that's working for a living, more often than not, a G-Shock is the watch that you're going to find them wearing. Next, we've got Mike's hot take, and he says that most ceramic bezels are too shiny. And honestly, I can't really argue with that. I don't love the super glossy ceramic bezel invasion that has taken over the dive watch genre the past few years. I like that they don't get scratched and beat up like aluminum, and that they will look good as new for years and years. But if I'm being honest, aluminum bezels present better when they're brand new. So I'm kind of on board with you, Mike. They are usually too shiny. What are we on here? Number 6, I think, halfway through the list of unpopular or controversial watch opinions, and this one comes from Gary, and it's a long one, so I'm gonna paraphrase it a little. Too many newbie self-described watch experts are spouting uninformed crap on YouTube and in some podcasts that only recently got into watches. So, look, I can't really confirm or deny this in a broad sense. There's only a handful of watch channels that I watch with any regularity, but what I can say is this. With the exception of Archie, I don't know any channels that I've ever viewed that have made the claim that they're some sort of expert or some sort of all-knowing watch guru. Most of us, myself included, are just collectors and enthusiasts that share our opinions and our perspectives about watches and this industry. I'm not even sure what qualifies someone as an expert on watches, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's not like there's some skill set or technical expertise that a person can master that would certify them as an expert. Sure, there's a certain knowledge base associated with this hobby, but really that's just memorizing trivia. That said, the reason that there's so many channels and podcasts about watches explicitly because there's no technical skill set needed to make commentary on the hobby. More often than not, whether it's me or any other channel, what we're really doing is just sharing our subjective opinions on the topic. And look, if you value the opinion of the person making the presentation, then continue to watch them. If not, find a different channel. So we've got another one from Gary, and it's that serial flipping is a sickness. And yeah, I guess it can be. I mean, I've seen it with a lot of people. But what I think it's more about is the thrill of the hunt and addictions to acquisition than it is about flipping watches. I think a lot of guys like getting watches more than they like having watches. And once you get that watch that you've been lusting over, the thrill is over, and you need to move on to the next one. That, of course, does not encompass everyone that's a serial flipper, but that is pretty common. There's also the fact that you do need to try a watch for a little while to really see if you like it, and of course, when you don't, you sell it. Now, some people call this buyer's remorse, and I guess while that is an accurate description, it's almost always used in a pejorative context. And I take a little bit of offense to someone putting blame on a consumer when they are underwhelmed or, disappointed with a watch or any other product that they buy. It's not their fault that it didn't meet their expectations. So having buyer's remorse, as they call it, isn't some sort of shameful thing. So yeah, serial flipping, it can be weird and obsessive, it can be a little bit of a mental sickness, if you will, but it's usually not all that bad. Here's one from Deandre, and he says, how about owning a controversial watch and not caring about the haters? And it looks like he's posted a picture of a Jeanneau Ocean Rover. Now, I've always said it, and I stand by it, that's a really great watch, regardless of how you feel about the brand. Whether it's a Jeanneau or an Invicta or any other watch, if you like it, that's really all that matters. Life's too short to worry about what anyone else thinks about something as simple as the watch that you wear. So David posted this one, and he says that Debuthane, maybe that's how you say the name? He said that Debuthane watches look like Happy Meal toys. I guess like McDonald's, right? And I'll be honest, I've never heard of that brand. I've never seen that watch, and I don't really think that that's a controversial opinion. That is objectively one ugly watch. It looks more like what Spock would be wearing on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise than it does a Happy Meal toy, though. I'll give it that. Peter posted our next one, and I think he's going to get some hate for this controversial opinion. He says Quartz watches are better. And I gotta say, you're not exactly wrong. In terms of performing the task for which watches are built, i.e. telling time, Quartz watches are better. And on top of that, in every other objective manner, they are, or at least they can be, equal to their mechanical or automatic counterparts as well. And yet for me, and I'm sure for most of you, there is still something more appealing about a mechanical timepiece. Honestly, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's something about the tradition and the artistry of mechanical watchmaking that intrigues and inspires us. Maybe it's just not having to worry about changing a battery. I don't know, but 9 times out of 10, if I'd have to pick a mechanical watch or a quartz watch, I'm going to choose the mechanical watch if there's an option. So we got 2 more to go, and this one is from Gary, and I'm in full agreement on this one. Old, tired-looking vintage watches with all kinds of dirt and decay and all kinds of blemishes just don't look good. Give me new and shiny every time, he says. And yeah, I am 100% in agreement. I don't see the appeal in vintage watches with water-damaged dials or quote-unquote patina. If anyone is going to put wear and tear on my watch, I'd like it to be me, and that's why I would never buy an old, worn-out vintage watch. Now, what's worse is all of these new watches with their fake patina, which is almost always something that I dislike. Occasionally, a little old radium-colored lume is okay, but when we start getting into brand new watches with fake tropical dials, I'm out. And here's a crazy one, not related to watches. I'm into guitars, and some of you know this. And brands like Gibson and Fender sell guitars with relic finishes that look like an instrument that's 60 years old and it's been on the road its entire life. And they actually charge more for these guitars than a brand new one with a glossy finish. I don't get it. The appeal it isn't for me. Alright, here we are, the last controversial opinion of the list, and it's posted by Andrew. He says that watch collecting in general is extremely pretentious, and we only tell ourselves it's not to justify our hobby. Sorry, not sorry. So, yeah, there is some truth to this one, although that can be said about any hobby, especially when you're talking about collecting luxury items. I mean, have you ever stepped foot inside the fine art hobby? I haven't extensively, but I've known people in those circles, and that can take Pretentious into a whole new level. Now, I will say that this hobby and some of the people in it can be extremely toxic, which is a stupid phrase that I hate using, but I really can't think of a better way to put it. Now, don't get me wrong, I have met some truly kind and amazing people since I've been doing this, but I've come across a ton of downright terrible human beings as well. It's depressing that people have to look down on and try to demean others and use their interest in something as superficial as watches as a crutch to somehow make themselves feel superior to others. But a lot of people out there are just shitbirds, and that's not unique to watch collectors or this hobby. Alright guys, that'll wrap this video up for today. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Also, I'd like you to leave a comment sharing your controversial or unpopular watch opinions, and don't forget to check the description for a list of ways that you can help me out. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to sign off and say bye now.